Still feels like a loss. Like I keep looking at it and it's a draw, but it feels like a loss. Wow. Welcome back to Right as Rain. Ella has returned. This time I didn't lie about it. Wish it was a better match to talk about. I keep seeing the Alyssa Nair goal, and I'm like, can you please stop showing me that? If it was any other team, I would enjoy this vastly. Not this one. Yeah, the Rain returned to Lumen Field to host Chicago. We'll talk about that. I had some thoughts on the stretch run. We'll get to that as well. There's some other stuff that was announced today. In fact, run roster move and Jordan Heidema won Player of the Week for her performance in the Chicago match. So we'll talk about that. I'll probably include that in talking about the match. So it's great to have Bella back. Bella has become Miss Worldwide Traveler, all of these places. Truly, Canada's the only interesting place you've been.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't go to Paris or Switzerland.
No,
I
yeah, just
totally
Canada.
didn't do that for a week. I was actually in Canada for such a short amount of time. I feel like I was barely there.
um, yeah, goodness. Well, yeah, we'll look at this, buddy. Not great. I think after a while, you and I were kind of like, okay, this is nice. This is exactly what they were supposed to do against the Stars team that's, sitting second to last in the league table. You know, they didn't look perfectly clean. I talked about that. I did a match recap of that, and was, even through the first 70 minutes, they didn't look great defensively. There were a few chances they had to bail themselves out. I think it was right after the Jess goal in the third minute that Chicago nearly came away with an early chance. Claudia Dickey had to make kind of the leg save. Um, and I just kept Bella hears all of this during the match. I kept sort of being like, "Wow, this trio you're going to bring in of subs in the 66th minute, like this is laughable that you're able to do this." And Lynn Biondolo, Jordan Bug, me official, and then shortly after that, not directly blaming that. I don't know. It was interesting. I saw a lot of people question the substitutions for the Rain in this match. I thought they made sense. I'm sure you'll have thoughts on that. Um, but everything went downhill after the 70th minute. Chicago scores 3 goals in a span of about 20, 30 minutes. Yeah, I guess 30 with the +9 in stoppage time. And it's a draw against one of the worst teams in the league. Uh, you can bring in parity all you want, but given the situation that Seattle was in late into this match, it's incredibly frustrating. That was apparent on the face of Laura Harvey, from Has and Jordan Heidem post game. So, yeah, Bella, how do you talk about this? I was just shocked. I mean, I just sat in that press box shocked uh,
I mean,
after the
yeah,
final whistle.
the reason it kills is because it's not just a 3-3 draw, it's a 3-3 draw after you led 3-0. Like after you after you had 3 goals and they had scored none, you let in 3 goals in a short amount of time. And yeah, gosh, I don't even know where to start. I think Claudia Dickey had some very good early saves in this one. I do want to give her flowers. I think she's continued to be very good. Um, even, I mean, even like in the Portland game too, that scoreline could have been worse if it wasn't for some big saves from her. Um, so I think there are some positives to take away, and I will start with those for my own sanity. Um, I think it was Jordan Heidema post game who talked about it. They had a very good efficiency in terms of their offense this time around. They didn't create a ton of chances, but the chances they did create were good chances. And when they were poorly defended, the rain made them pay. Emery's goal is a very, very textbook example of that. Complete horrible miscommunication at the back. I don't know what was happening between Sam Staub, Catherine Heinrich, and Alyssa Nair. They should have let Alyssa grab it, and instead it's headed weirdly over to Emery, who has a completely empty goal. Um, and, in the past, maybe the team would have whiffed on that chance, and that is a golden opportunity, and they didn't do it. So Chicago could have won this game if they don't put that extra goal away. I think, the um, Jordan Heidema's goal was great effort on her part. I think that the initial sort of rebound attempt by Madison Curry should have been put away first. Um, I'd be a little concerned that it wasn't, but at the same time, they had the numbers around the box. Jordan Heidema was there. She got something on it, and she made a very fun finish of it. Um, and then, Jess's goal, 3 straight games with a goal for Jess. Ankarad James Turner said at post game, she has been in fantastic form since the Euros, like just absolutely stellar form. And I think she's a big reason that the offense is doing so well because when they find her in those pockets of space where she can turn and find teammates in behind or just find a cutting pass, even find the finish in some cases, like she is one of the best in the world. There's a reason that they have, wanted to keep her for so many years and should have kept her for so many years. And it's because when she is playing well, the team is playing well, particularly offensively. Again, it was bad defending on Chicago's part. Um, Jess was pretty much completely alone for her finish. So, it's not like any of them were the most difficult goals I've ever seen, but it is good to see them put away the chances that they should be putting away. It's also, what did I say post game? The fifth straight or the sixth straight game where they've scored multiple goals in a game.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and I wrote about this for Equalizer. I'm pretty sure I talked about it on here. They struggled for goals early on.
Hmm.
So it's, nice to see that not be a struggle. However, it is frustrating that as soon as the goals come, it seems like the defense has disappeared a little bit. And I feel like that has been a bit of a theme of this team where they can have good defense or good offense and not necessarily both at the same time. I'm that might just be like a thing overall with all sports. I don't know if that's specific to this team. Um, but those were, I think, some of the good things in this game. Um, the less good things being you let in the third goalkeeper goal in league history.
Oh, Jesus.
Other ones belong to Bella Bixby and Michelle Betos, both scored for Portland. Um, so that's kind of annoying, but just, um, I mean, the initial header on that chance was not defended well enough. It was too much of a free header. And then there were 3 Chicago players and just Emily Mason back for the rebound. Claudia Dickey had no chance. Emily Mason had no chance. Alyssa Nair was just the one that was there. Um, and you also, Laura Harvey was talking about a post game. You simply can't allow them to have that opportunity late in the game. They knew that they were going to be pushing for a goal, and sometimes you just have to boot it the F out of there. And they didn't do that enough. They tried to do a little bit too much. They let Chicago's pressure get to them. I wouldn't be surprised if, they were a little defeated after, especially after letting in the second goal. And then, that the one thing you have to do is not let them score a third, and then you let them score a third um, with what was essentially the last kick of the game.
Yep.
Um, you know, Credit to Chicago for fighting and pulling that out. Um, but I do think there were a lot of defensive issues in the game. Um, I think there's I'm trying to think. even in the first half, Chicago had, I believe actually, Chicago had more chances in the first half than the Reign did.
I can check that while you.
Um, if not, very similar amount. Um, and they were good chances too. And I think pretty much all of them, at least the good ones, um, came from Chicago.
Mm, more
Oh,
shots, total shots on target. The Reign had double the amount of big chances, but yeah, largely similar shots on target. Better expected goals in the first half for the Reign, by twice as much, but more shots total for Chicago. Uh,
right.
yeah.
Like Chicago's chances were pretty similar in
Hmm.
that they were sort of finding space in behind and to the side of the defense. So their shots were kind of from a tough angle. Um, but they still got several opportunities and forced saves out of Claudia Dickey. Um, and there was a very clear, at least to me, a clear weakness that Chicago took advantage of was when the back three was shifted too far over and the winger on the side that they had shifted away from was too high and not shifted back. And that left space. It feels like it's in behind because there's not really any defenders near them, but technically they're sort of still in line with the defenders. Um, and Chicago has some serious pace and dribbling on their front line, and in the second half they were able to make some of those chances count. And it was frustrating, I think, because it was something that they struggled with against Portland too,
Mm.
and I feel like the back three, back five situation had been working pretty well for them for a lot of this season. So I'm a little confused about why the defense has gotten worse. I don't know if it technically, statistically has, but definitely in terms of goals conceded, it has.
Yeah.
Conceding 7 goals in 2 games is insane, especially because before that, I believe they had sort of close to one of the lowest goals conceded total. So I'm not sure if it's a personnel thing. We have seen different personnel there back there recently. Obviously, Phoebe McClernon was hurt for the Portland game, and that really hurt them because she is very good, and probably does not get enough credit for how good she is back there. This game, Jordan Bugg didn't start. Um, Laura said that was to kind of try and give her a rest. Um, it's also possible that after she gave away the penalty she should not have given away in Portland, that they wanted to try someone else. I don't want to say like there's no way it was any sort of like punishment for making a mistake in Portland, but maybe a reset for her, get her a mental break, something like that. Um, because that was a very uncharacteristic mistake of her in Portland. Um, and just one you really don't expect to see her make. She is 18 now, I believe, but she plays like someone in her late 20s, early 30s. Like she is an incredibly mature player, so it was very odd to see her make that mistake. Um, and I don't think she made any like
Oh, 19.
19. I'm so sorry, Jordan, for saying that you were 18. There's a huge
Back
difference.
on August 11th of my birthday.
Oh, really? Happy belated birthday. Um, so I'm also, I think I kind of am confused by not using Sofia Huerta as one of the wingers in the five back. Um, to some extent, I get it because you get her distribution, her sort of calm passing on the ball in your back line. But I also feel like her crosses are just so like legendarily good. Like it's what she's known for
One of the
that I'm
best
like,
assisters in the league history.
yeah, I'm like, why don't you want that further up the field? And, credit Madison Curry's been playing very well. Um, Maddie Darlene is playing very well, although I continue to think that she's better in a more outright forward role, not because she can't defend, but just because she's a very good attacker. And I think they didn't get her running at the back line quite as much as they would have wanted in this game. I also think, as much as I love my Huskies and I am a big fan of Shea Holmes and think that she has been very impressive in her growth over her years as a pro. I think she has really struggled as part of the back three and is not one of the wingers. Um, Several times she has been sort of the defender out of position or not putting enough pressure on an attacker. And it's a really tough position to be in. It's a relatively new position for her, right? Um, so it's not like she's doing simple things badly or anything. She's in a tough spot and she's having a tough time. Um, and so I'm not sure unless she sort of kind of rapidly improves how she plays there, which is possible. Um, I don't think the defense will be very solid if she is one of the back three for a full game like that. I think she's done well a couple times, sort of coming in as the sub fresh legs and helping solidify the back line. I've really liked what she's been able to do going forward from the wings. But I don't feel like that the position she's been put in the past few games has been ideal to her strong suits, you know?
Mm,
Um,
yeah, that makes sense.
and so, I still think she's very good and she can contribute to this team. I'm just not convinced it's in the position she's been in lately. And I am not Laura, I am not the coach. I do not know as much as she does. I'm sure there is something she sees um, that um, has, made her want to have Shay back there. I wonder if maybe it's also because Lou is not full 90 fit. Um, I'm and then Sophia also, I think the other thing with Sophia is she's coming back into the team, right? So she's playing a new position and she kind of needs to rebuild chemistry, especially with players like Jordan Bugg, who joined the team after she left last year. Like Phoebe, she's played with for a while now. Um, and as smart of a player as Huerta is, every time you change position, it's an adjustment. When she transitioned to outside back, she wasn't immediately amazing there. Like it took her a season and quite a lot of work to really get good at that position. And she worked her ass off and she did a really good job. Um, and so I think it's tough then to kind of now put her as a center back in a back three and expect a player who didn't start playing defense until maybe 5 years ago, and now you want her as one of your center defenders. It's just it's a very tough transition to make in a short amount of time. That could be something that's contributing to the defensive struggles. Um, I think the hope is at this point that they sort of figure out what they want to do personnel wise back there. Everyone is healthy. Um, and once they get some consistency in that back line, that hopefully things will be a little bit more solid. But we also know that in the past, Laura has talked about, it's not just the back line, it's how the whole team defends. Um, so, they need the midfield to be on top of that as well. They have to, I think last or on Monday, Laura wanted more pressure on the ball, so they couldn't send those balls in behind in the first place. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Um, but I do think it now has to be a big focus of theirs.
Did you have thoughts on the substitutions in this match? I mean, again, it seemed it's always interesting. It's like everything that happens in any game, right, will be criticized by fans one way or the other, seemingly. But I didn't. I thought they made sense. I thought this like we've heard from Laura, we've heard from so like Scott has said this at this point. Oh, Scott said it when we talked to him ahead of the not you, Bella, but when I heard from him ahead of the Urawa friendly. And like Has has said it, like this is the deepest team that they've been part of.
Right.
And like it is again, I laughed about it in like being able to bring in the league's all-time leading goal scorer, one of the best young defenders in the world. I don't know if that's a stretch, but I'm gonna say it. I don't give a fuck. Me official, and then Sam Meza to get, Jess off the field. Emily Mason, who by the way, ahead of the tying goal, had to clear the ball off the goal line.
Yep.
Uh, you know, I don't know. I thought those made sense. Like I think Laura, when I was rewatching the press clips, and I'm sure I'll put some of them in here. Um, we saw it both ways in the press conference. Laura took some accountability. She said, "That's on me," on a few different occasions. And has like in when you asked for, I think general thoughts, has was like, "We need to be better. Like the players on the field are the ones who can execute anything." So I guess it's good to see the accountability all around. But I don't know. I was confused by the dislike for the substitutions. I thought it made sense. You're up 3 goals. You're holding a clean sheet at that point to bring in one of the better defenders in the world. And Lynn, again, if you're a defender and you're dealing with fresh legs, Lynn Biondolo and me official, 60 minutes on, after dealing with Jordan Heidema, Maddie Darlene, who you mentioned, like I think that makes sense. I don't know. Did you any thoughts on the substitutions
I have
or
mixed thoughts
issue with
about the
them?
substitutions.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Um, One, I think the Emily Mason sub was very smart, particularly um, because at that point Emery was playing as the winger next to Shea, and I can't
Yeah.
remember if it was the second goal or the first Chicago goal, or it was Emery who was too high and Shea who was too far shifted over. Um,
I think you said
and
it after the second goal. I think you said to me, you said Emery's too
yeah,
high.
um, and Emery has put in great defensive work. Laura has talked about her defensive improvement, but I just don't think she's really played as that winger. And so having her as the winger after Maddie Darlene came off, I think just didn't really work out. Um, and I think Emily Mason has been very good when she's come into games. The triple substitution around what was it, like the 70th minute?
66.
66. So, you know, at one point I was wondering, will Laura make any subs? Because when things are going well, she doesn't like to change it. And while the defense wasn't perfect, things were going relatively well. Um, at the same time, the logic to rest some players who had been playing heavy minutes, who had been doing a lot of running, primarily Jordan Heidema and Maddie Darlene, makes complete sense to me. Giving Lynn and Mia time to kind of find their way into the game makes sense to me. Um, Maybe you could have held off on the defensive substitution. Um, but at the same time, if they were, trying to keep Jordan Bug in things and, you know, not have her, they weren't trying to completely rest her, they were just trying to not have her play heavy minutes. Um, I think that the subs made total sense. At the same time, like Laura talked about, it did kind of mess with the momentum and flow. Um, and Chicago then scored a bunch. um, so,
So
like,
there's two sides to it.
I mean, I think that I think that the subs were smart and they didn't work out, and it's unfortunate. Um, I it's difficult. Maybe a concern could be that they were very offensive substitutions for a game where you're 3-0 up, but at the same time, they talk about their defense starting at the front, right? So they want those
Uh,
front runners
yeah.
putting pressure on Chicago's back line, and Fresh Legs does that. Lynn did it very well. She had one or two opportunities in there, but the problem is when she got an opportunity, she was pretty much alone.
Yep.
So it's like you're putting in goal scorers in a situation where you don't need goals and where the rest of the team is probably not going to push as high for a goal, and kind of just letting them just kind of having them run around and they still want a goal. Like I mean, it's been a bummer because I don't think the official has come into a game where she's really been able to get service, and get support behind her, because she's come into games that they're either closing out, should be closing out, or are basically already over, like the Portland game.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I don't think we've been able to see her offensive strengths yet, and she's just kind of been thrown in to do a lot of defending. And there's no diss on her defending; she's a perfectly good defender. Um, but I do think that how the team defends is something that really needs to be in line back to front,
Mm.
and potentially making those changes makes it so the team is not on the same page. So the structure is not totally correct. So the pressing triggers or whatever they aren't totally on the same page. So, like, maybe Laura could have made the subs a little bit later. She certainly talked about saying that she made those subs too early. I don't know if she made them too early. I honestly think Chicago saw their moment and they pounced. And then once Chicago got a foothold, the Reign were rattled, and Chicago continued to just take advantage of their opportunities and really push. And some players for the Reign were still kind of trying to find scoring opportunities and find moments to pass the ball around when they needed to clear things and put it in the corner and just get it the frick out of there. Um,
I think Laura talked about that too post game.
yeah, and Laura talked about it like wanting, that being what the team needed to do, and that they didn't execute it. Because I straight up asked her, like, was it not communicated clearly to the team, or did they not execute what you wanted them to execute? And it was like, well, yeah, it wasn't executed. Like, this is what they were told to do, and it didn't happen, and that happens. Um, so I think Laura's always one to um take blame for stuff and try to take pressure off of her players, and recognize, the influential role that she has as the head coach who makes those decisions. Um, so, maybe if the subs are different, the outcome is different, but I don't think there was anything fundamentally wrong with the substitutions, you know?
Yeah,
Maybe you
that's
could have
where I
made
am.
maybe you could have made different substitutions. Maybe you take Sally Menti out earlier because she was kind of not really making a mark on the game. Um, maybe I mean, I don't want to say take Jess out earlier because I feel like she just kept running.
But
Um, like, um, I'm trying to, who did Jordan Bug come in for?
One second, I can get it. Maddie Curry.
Yeah, I don't, that one doesn't totally make sense to me either. Um, Although they did then, that's when they then shifted Sophia up on the wing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I do think it's unusual a little bit for Laura to make defensive substitutions when she doesn't have to. Um, I think switching out the wingers kind of makes sense because they do a lot of running, but I feel like, maybe there's a benefit to keeping the back three consistent the whole game. Um, but yeah, overall, like, making one substitution isn't the reason they lost the game. The defending had been rough up to that point, and Chicago hadn't punished them. And Chicago also like was out of subs by like the 60 something minute because they had three different players come off injured, like badly injured, and made a fourth sub during half. They weren't even able to use all five substitutions, and that team still found a way to scrap and claw. And I think at the end they outworked them, and they took advantage of the mistakes. They hustled to those rebounds. I feel like I'm talking about basketball, but like they they did the things they needed to do, and they fought like a team with nothing to lose because they really had nothing to lose, and they did it. And I, like everyone, would love an Uncle Nair goal, but I would love it against any other team much more. Um, so yes, in closing on that, the subs were not just like inherently bad subs. It just didn't work out, and there were things wrong all over that didn't necessarily have anything to do with the subs at all. So it's
You want
just
to talk about like outwork to build off that point for you? I mean, when you brought up the first half, right? I immediately went overlooked the second half. The second half numbers show that absolutely. 12 shots for Chicago, just five for the Reign. Seven on target for Chicago in the second half, three for the Reign. Four big chances for the Stars, not the Red Stars. One for Seattle. Um, 71% possession for Chicago. Two expected goals if we round up the .06. I'm going to do that. So yeah, that's ugly. It's real ugly. Um, yeah, we're gonna move away from that horrifying game. To your point though, with the defense, I mean, in two of the first 12 matches that the Reign played this season, they allow no, I'm sorry. Sorry, I got the stat wrong. In nine of the first 12 matches they played this season, they allowed one or less goal. So yeah, they were doing a great job at suppressing that. I felt like that was a storyline that we had talked about or I had heard from was how much they'd worked defensively this year, how they were working with Scott Parkinson, extra film, da 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 da. And yeah, a little different recently. I went and looked this up through the club's history after the match, but you talk about the allowing seven goals in two matches. They've only had that happen three other times in club history. Twice last year in a 4 week span, by the way. They happened back to back. It was
last
rough,
year was rough. Last year was rough. We
very
don't talk
rough.
about it like we don't talk about 2013. It didn't
Well, and
happen.
that's where the other one happened. So 2013 once, twice last year, and then once this year. So yeah, it's bad. But no, my whole point was, and I wanted to get to this, was that Seattle kind of like, as much as this to some fans will feel like horrible, what the hell, I understand that. Again, I sat after Bella left, I sat in the press box kind of like, what did I just watch? And listening to other folks talk in the press box.
Yeah, and that was my drive home with my mother. She was just upset.
Yeah,
She
no,
was like, "That
real.
sucked."
Yes, yes, mom, it did. Um, they would have jumped Portland for the fifth seed if they had gotten the win. Who knows how long that would have lasted, because it was just going to be a point. But you sit at sixth. 4 points separate you, the sixth seed, and San Diego, the second seed. Then there's Kansas City up there, really high up. Um, you know, you've got 10 matches left on the season. And I was looking at this. It's all in front of you to be able to potentially move up there. Obviously, um, different results will impact that, I'm sure. Right. But we're all at 16 matches played in the league. You will play the top four teams in the league throughout your remaining schedule. You will play Kansas City. You no, yes, sorry. You'll play Houston next week. Houston's just kind of peeking into the playoff picture right now, looking at Gotham, who they beat, and North Carolina's above them, who they also beat. So that's, I guess, your primer for Houston. But after that, it's San Diego, who sits second, Washington, who sits fourth, Racing Louisville, who is 3 points below you in seventh, by the way, Kansas City, number one, of course. Um, yeah, and then I think what you close out the season against Orlando, which is wildly annoying. You will play the quote unquote bottom feeders, so to say, in Utah, uh, AFC, and who is the other one? The oh no, you don't. Yeah, you will play those two teams, but I don't know. My point is it's all ahead of them. Like, they can very much control um sort of how the path to a potential deep run will look. And my question now, Bella, to move off of that match, I know it's not the greatest one, like week to follow up a match with this question for, but I asked this, I gotta get this running. I want to do like you see the leagues do the power rankings and such. And I'm working on something to do that for the teams that are active in the city and like who's closest to a championship amongst the active teams. I would have said the Storm a few weeks ago, but with the stretch they're on, they're not
We're
very
not
high.
talking about it. We're
Well,
not talking about it.
I asked this on our Sounders show yesterday. I said, what do the Sounders need to become like an elite contender for you to consider them a team that could win their title? We've again heard how consistently deep the Reign are. It's true. I mean, I don't, you've been more in depth on this than I have, but we've been around, I think, largely the same amount the last few years. Um, I don't remember the last time they were this deep where they had these options on the bench. What do the Reign need to do? Because I don't think you can really add anything at this point of the season, externally, of course. Um, what do the Reign need to do for you to consider them an elite contender? Because again, it's all ahead of them. There are some 6 point swings, so to say, in the coming month, specifically in end of this month, because they play the Wave on the 29th. And then in September, when you play the Spirit, Racing Louisville, and Kansas City, and North Carolina, who is no easy team to beat either. Um, yeah, I don't know. What do you need to see from them for you to consider them an elite contender? Because they're fun. I mean, again, with how deep they are, like you've mentioned, we really haven't seen Mia Official break out yet, which is remarkable to say. It was really Lynn Biondolo. I mean, she got, you know, the one goal, but he's been hampered with some stuff. I think you mentioned it when we were in the press box on Monday. We had to look back, and Laura mentioned she was dealing with some stuff in July. So yeah, I don't know what does the Reign need to do for you to consider them an elite contender in their respective league?
Yeah, well, unsurprisingly, I have many thoughts.
Nah,
Um,
you too.
like to talk about them being deep. I had talked to Laura at practice shortly after they sort of returned from the break, and she just kept saying like, yeah, this is I think one of the deepest teams I've ever had. The only time I like maybe had a more talented team was 2021 because Eugenie Le Sommer and Jennifer Marjan and whoa that team. Um, but this team has the kind of depth and game changers you need off the bench to to win a title, right? Like that is something that I think is in place, and they did a good job in the off season and over the summer of of, solidifying that. I think the biggest thing is the defense has to shore up. You mentioned, playing Kansas City. If I'm not mistaken, the Reign are still the only team to beat Kansas City this season.
I will
Maybe
double check
actually
that.
there may be a second team that beat them, but
There's a
we were the
second team
first to beat them, and they only have how many losses? Two.
too. One draw.
And
Oh, one draw, and that was recent. Oh my God.
yeah, um,
North Carolina in North Carolina. Jesus Christ.
and if you think back to the Kansas City game, it was a 1-0 game, and defense was the name of the game.
Oh, that was
And
Lynn's goal.
yes, and so you have to be able. You cannot get in a shootout with a team like Kansas City because they will destroy you. Like the Reign are scoring a lot of goals right now, but if they let in 3 from Chicago and 4 from Portland, imagine what Kansas City could score.
Don't
Like
want it.
that is the main thing is on those teams like Kansas City, Washington Spirit too. Like the thing that killed them when they played the Spirit before was defense. They let in. I think technically they in the end only let in 2 goals, but they had 1 or 2 that were called offsides and called back. And Washington had a lot of opportunities, and Washington is scoring like crazy this season. And they have
Oh,
Trinity Rodman
Jesus.
back now. Like so, to have any chance of beating those teams, the defense has to be solid. You have to limit their opportunities, make Claudia's saves easier. Just give yourself a chance. Um, because, the only, as much as I was like, yes, it's good they've been scoring goals lately, a lot of those were 2-1 games. Or these recent losses. The only one that was like really a blowout of them, outscoring the other team was Utah, and that's Utah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to score 4 on Kansas City. You're not going to score 3 on Kansas City. Like, they've shored up their defense, and that's part of why they're so good this year is because they're not leaking goals like they have in the past. And then they have the offensive firepower and just acquired Ali Sentnor, which still seems unfair and illegal to me. It's not actually, but it feels on vibes like it is. Um, just like Orlando getting Elizabeth
Oh my
Ovaye. Like,
God.
how does this keep happening? But at the same time, the Reign added me official when they already have Lindy and Dolo, so I can't
It's an
totally
arms
complain
race.
about it. I did kind of think it was funny when they were talking on the broadcast during the Portland game about how Portland was one of the teams that had been in the running for her, and I was like, "Haha, you suck, Portland." Um, but so yeah, I think defense is the biggest thing. I think they need to get Lynn healthy. However, that needs to happen. Um, we haven't gotten much information about what's going on with her. It's sounded kind of like little, as Laura likes to say, niggles throughout the season. Um, it's rarely been anything like super long term, but just kind of like unfortunate and maybe keeps her out longer because she's, in a little on the older side. Not totally sure, to be honest. Um, but I think in the games where she has played and especially started, I think back again the Utah game, she like didn't have a goal or assist, but she had 3 hockey assists. She was setting everything up. She was creating space for her teammates. Like I just think that you simply cannot go wrong with starting and having Lynn Biandola play heavy minutes. And so you want her to be in a position to do that. In the past games where we've seen her come, it's not that she can't, be a spark off the bench. She absolutely can be effective off the bench, but she is so good. I think you want her on the field as long as possible and as
Yeah.
early as possible to make an impact. Because not only is she incredibly talented, she is also incredibly knowledgeable. And a lot of the young players on that back line have said it. They look up to her. They listen to her, they trust her. And so if she is up there, out there, showing what to do, telling them what to do, it's the same thing we've talked about with Jess and Lou. Like having those veteran presences makes a difference. And and Lynn is one that does that and is just so influential offensively. So you need Lynn to be healthy and you need to find where she is best in the offense and what is going to be the most effective and stick with that to some extent. I'm less concerned about integrating the official only because Laura and Leslie talked about it in the press conference. Their focus for Mia is long term.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
know that she could make an immediate impact, but when I talked to Laura, she was like, anything we get out of Mia these next 12 games is a bonus. Like it is some sort of additional, not necessarily unexpected, but like not expected in like a we need you to do this kind of way,
Yeah.
right? Like she's very talented and capable, but they don't expect that she is immediately the star scoring a bunch of goals. I do think you want to get her one or two. I do think you want to maybe find a game. Maybe Utah would be a great game for her to start.
Let her run
Like
wild on
get,
Utah.
get her get her in a position where she is on with other fresh legs, where you are looking for a goal and you can maybe build some confidence for her. Because again, she's come in rough situations.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been the podcast with Sam Mewis that she talked about, when she was at Chelsea and she kept wanting her team to run up the score because Chelsea didn't want to put her in like a tight, physical, closely contested game when she was returning from her ACL. So she was like, guys, like make the score go up so that I can come in the game late. And it's hard to come back and immediately be an impact player when you hadn't played for a year. Like
Yeah.
I still believe that she is going to be incredible for this team. And I think you want to find ways that she is building her confidence early and trying to get her in some goal scoring opportunities because I think once she gets one, she will have a lot of confidence. But she hasn't really had those opportunities because of the games she's been in. They've been rough. The return to play has been difficult. Um, so so yeah, for once I'm not super concerned about the offense, other than the health of Lindy and Dolo. But I think if they're gonna win anything, and again, to be fair, again, I believe we talked about it at the beginning of the season. They're building for the future, and when they were making the roster this season, they weren't necessarily thinking they were going to win a title this year. They were thinking maybe next year, maybe the year after. And so, their goal is playoffs, right?
Yeah.
But none of them have said their goal is a championship.
Mm-mm.
I feel like I think even Jordan said it yesterday, like or whatever day it was,
Uh,
like we're looking towards playoffs. Like
yeah.
that is what we're looking
Like she
towards.
exactly said that. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a good way to think about it. Is like you want this team to be, ideally kind of middle of the playoff standings. You want them to make a good run. Hey, maybe they make it all the way, but you're not looking at them like they're Orlando or Kansas City. This is a team that still has growing to do, that still has learning to do.
And it's not like
So,
any of their big name players, are like I think you talk about Lynn, right?
mhm.
As we found out, we had to
Yes,
find out,
yes.
it's a multi-year contract. It's
Mhm,
not this is my last ride,
mhm.
you know. And to your point, I don't think it was on a podcast. I if you need me to cut it out, I will cut it out. but it doesn't sound like Jess is done after this year either. Like not certified, you know. I don't know if it's for sure.
Well, so what I can say about that is because I did ask her.
Yeah. Because I
Um,
know the discussions we've had about that have been off camera,
yes,
uh
the story will be coming out hopefully soon. Um, so I don't I don't and it will say told the equalizer because I did do
yeah,
this interview for the equalizer.
yeah.
But I asked her sort of what her thoughts are about retirement and you know it was interesting because I was listening. I had mentioned this to you. I listened to her appearance on Sam Lewis's podcast on my way back from Canada, or maybe my way up to Canada, part of that drive. And she talked about like maybe this sort of being her last run with Wales. But when I talked to her after she had been back from the Euros for maybe about a week at that point, um, it was basically like nothing is decided. It is something that she is sort of constantly reevaluating. But overall, like physically, she feels really good. And I think we've seen that in her performances. Um, you know, Perhaps, especially if she does retire from international duty, like something that has put a lot of stress on her body is international um, camps and traveling all the way to Wales
Yeah.
consistently in the middle of the season. Um, and so if she did decide to retire from international duty, maybe that even helps her play another NWSL season. So I don't think she has decided one way or another, is what she essentially told me. There's no, I've decided ahead of time, like I'm Megan and you know, I'm gonna do my farewell tour, like I'm done. There is no like, oh, I'm definitely gonna play, keep playing forever. Um, she didn't, and every time she talked about it, it was like, I'm closer to the end of my career than I am the beginning of my career. No, like I'm in the last home stretch or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so it's something that she's constantly reevaluating and seeing how she feels. Um, and it's possible that she'll decide at the end of the season that her body is done, she is done. It's possible that she decides she wants to go for another year. Whatever it is she wants to do, I am sure the Reign will be there to re-sign her or retire her number and give her a big celebration as she deserves.
Yeah.
Um, Whichever thing it is that she decides to do, I believe it will be with the Reign. Um, but there is, I really did think that she was going to retire at the end of the season. Um,
I think a lot of us did, right? I mean,
Yeah, but the way she's playing, I'm like, okay, go on, Marta. Like, I'm seeing last year's Marta resurgence. Like if she can keep playing at this level, and she has shown that she can keep playing at this level, and she feels good, and right now she does feel good. Um, then she can definitely keep playing. Certainly, I read an article done somewhere in Europe where they talked to
yeah,
her dad and he and he was talking about how she could definitely play a few more years. Um, so so yeah, there's no decision one way or the other. But I do think the door is more open for her returning than at least we had previously thought.
yeah. And bringing her up, my point is like, as you kind of alluded to, there's no idea of a retirement tour. There's nothing like that. Like, there's no certainty to any of your, older players being like, this is it, I'm done. There's no pressure in that. Well, there's pressure, of course, but there's no like, we have to do it for Jess.
Mhm.
Lou Barnes
Right.
doesn't, there's no clarity there either. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a good point. I just, I see outside of Kansas City, of course, who is, yeah, terrifying.
Yeah.
Um, like it feels generally open. Like I feel like this Rain team can beat anybody,
Mhm.
and even in mentioning that Kansas City is terrifying, you, as we talked about, you did beat them. you
Yeah.
know. So my question though to go back to it is, in talking about the defense, do you think this is something that they can adjust, you know, because I would touch wood. I think it would be wildly insane if they don't make the postseason. Touching wood again. I'm finding wood to touch. That sounds inappropriate. Um,
Let's put that.
is is that something that they can fix internally before they reach the postseason? Because I mean, it's not like you've lost defenders. It's not like you're lacking good defensive talent. We've talked about Jordan Bug. You've got Phoebe McClernand back from whatever it was she was dealing with. Yeah, you've got Sophia Huerta back from loan. Like, is this something that like I guess is you need to see it happen, but it's not like they need to go and get pieces to fix their defense.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Um, I think I feel like they can fix it because they did so well really up until recently. Um, had this been a consistent struggle like the entire season and this was just the worst of it, then I would be more concerned. Um, but right now, I do feel like it's at least possible that it's just sort of different personnel trying to figure things out. Um, because the the back line, they'd switched out some wingers, but the back three was pretty dang consistent.
Yeah.
Even through sort of injuries on and off to Lou, I think Jordan Bug and Phoebe McClernand specifically were so consistently solid back there, along with Claudia Dickey. We know we should give her credit because Laura always points it out.
Claudia Dickey.
Um, like
Friend of the show, Claudia Dickey.
um, players and puppies in person, Claudia
Double
Dickey.
friend of the show.
Um, so yeah, I do think that they can fix it. I think that they have the personnel to fix it. I think that they have the desire to fix it. Um, and it might just be one of those things that it just takes a little bit of time and it looks really rough right now, but it'll maybe only take because it's not like I think that there are a ton of issues with the defense. It's more like I think there are sort of the same issues they consistently have.
Mm,
So it's fewer things to fix, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Um, and especially because I feel like you have the personnel, that helps. Um, so they do kind of need to figure out, I have a feeling that after this week, we'll kind of be back to the solidity of Phoebe McClernand and Jordan Bug, because Phoebe's thing was sort of short term. She came back pretty much right away.
Yeah.
And Laura said that Jordan's was rest. Um, so I am pretty confident that that'll return. Um, and I think Lou might be on a have been on a minutes restriction at one point or something. I'm not sure if she's 90 minutes or what. Um, but she's at least been on the bench, so we know she's available.
Yeah.
um, so I think you can always kind of fit her back in there. I think you do want to figure out if Sophia is best as part of that three back or as a winger.
Mhm.
Um, I know Laura feels pretty confident in her ability to play as one of the three center backs. Um, but especially if you have any of Mia Fischel, Lynn Biondolo, or Jordan Heidema up top, and you have that heading ability in your number nine or your sort of false nine, you want those crosses. Um, so again, not saying I know better than Laura. Laura, I don't know better than you. You're the
Sending
coach
this clip to
with
her right now. I'm
with
sending this
with
clip to Laura.
many awards. Um, but I do wonder if there's someone better to be in the back three. And to some extent, I'm like, Lou, that is a great option, and she has been good back there. Um, or maybe Shay alongside Jordan and Phoebe does better or something. I think Madison Curry has been terrific on the wing that she's consistently played on. And I want Maddie Darlene higher up anyway. So I wouldn't mind putting Sophia on the wing where Maddie had been playing. Um, so yeah, I definitely think that they can fix it. I think it's not it's not like a big mystery what's going wrong. Like they can see it
Yeah,
on film. They
it's
can
within their
tell
control.
in the game and they can fix it and they're certainly going to try to fix it. And I think what we saw in the off season was them knowing that the defense sucked last year and
Uh,
putting a frick ton of work into it and it improving.
Frick ton.
I don't know if I'm supposed to swear on this show, so I'm trying
I
not
already
to.
did. I feel like once
Um,
I get the first one out, it's like, all
yeah,
right,
so
you let them rip.
they worked on it a fuck ton. Like they they like really it was a massive focus for them. And it showed once and it showed a lot in the beginning of the season and I think they can show it again. And it just is a matter of getting the returning and new pieces into the fold and get everyone on the same page and in the best positions to succeed. And I think that if there is any coach that can do that, it is Laura, and her wonderful assistant coaches as well. But she is the one who makes the decisions at the end.
Well, I feel better about it because yeah, that was something that I was looking at after the match. I was like, it's sports cliche, sports taboo. Anytime you get kicked in the teeth, effectively, is how you respond to that, right?
Right.
And like we talked about, there's not like the impending doom of you need to. I'm going to pick you up. You need to win a championship this year. That doesn't
Yeah.
exist. Which is great because again, for a while it felt like they were kind of in limbo, especially with the whole French people thing about, they really weren't committing to youth. I love Eugenie Leschmeyer. Like it's great. That was fun. She's up there.
Yes.
But like not having a clear vision, me no like. Now it feels like there is a clear vision. Um, and like, I was thinking about it while you're talking about it. Having Sophia Huerta crosses in the Me official, and then Me official does it's gonna be wonderful. Like, and they're both long-term contracts. So yeah. So okay. I feel better about that. Anyway, we'll wrap it up really quickly with a couple of things. Yeah, Jordan Heidem, a one player of the week, NWSL player of the week for her one goal, one assist performance against Chicago in that match. First time she's won the award. Second time she's had a goal and an assist in a match in her NWSL career, and the 18th time all time a Reign player has won NWSL Player of the Week. And then the roster move today was a player that I really liked early into the season. And kind of figured this would happen as Jess got healthy and Sally Menti is worked her way into more of a now starting role. Um, and then having Ji So Yoon off the bench is stupid. Like how you can do that is remarkable. Again, going back to the depth. The Reign signed Maddie Mercado to a 1-year deal, so she's signed through next season, and she's got a player option for the 2027 season. Immediately in the same email from the Reign, they announced her loan to the Carolina Ascent, and I'm not calling it the sponsored ass league name that they gave it. It is the
Oh yeah,
USL. The
Gamebridge USL Super League.
I'm not calling it that. In
But
whatever, like,
last year it was a different sponsor.
was it? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. I'm not paying for this Timu ass named league. Not doing that.
You don't like
Yeah.
Gamebridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana?
Yes. Same thing. Yeah. Yeah. Mercado's on loan with the Carolina Ascent in the USL for the remainder of the year. So I don't know. I figured it made sense.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
cool.
we had talked about it when we had talked about potential roster moves to make space.
Yes. Yeah.
Was she was someone who I think has been
Leslie
very
surely saw
good.
the episode.
Like, early on, especially when there were injuries, she played some big minutes and had some big performances. And then as people came back healthy, um, and other players sort of came to be playing better. I mean, I don't even think she wasn't even in the 18 on Monday. Um, Actually, I don't think she'd been in the 18 for any of the past three games
He hasn't. Well,
since the
that goes
break.
back to the depth. Laura talking about like she's having a hard time. What was it? I think the quote was, she's fine with the 11s. Like she's fine with
Mhm.
how she dictates the 11, but it's the bench and who she leaves off of the bench.
Yeah,
Um, that is like, and I have to put out my feature on Has and her extension. But she was like, we've got players even in the stands, and if you don't know, the Rain players who are not playing or on the bench typically sit like a section back in the
yeah.
stands. Um, yeah. So,
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's great for Maddie. She'll get playing time. The Reign are still invested in her long term.
oh yeah, I mean the extension.
Because they do have some players whose contracts are expiring, and may or may not be re-upped, and so that gives Maddie the chance to come in preseason and try and pull a Sam Meza and just
Can you imagine?
absolutely absolutely break out and you know have benefit a lot from gaining confidence in in playing time in the Super League. The level of play is not the same, but a lot of players have talked about how just getting the minutes can be really big for your confidence. So I think it's great for her. I'm glad that the team is still keeping her around. And I imagine that like most loans, it has a right to recall if for some reason they do have injury issues and they need to bring players back in or whatever. Um, so I think it's just a good. I think I'm not entirely sure who they're making room for because I'm pretty sure they had space for Ryan Brown already to come off of season-ending injury list. Um,
Pretty sure.
so I don't know if they were like, and it's also possible they're not making room for anybody and they're just
Just get
like,
her time.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
because
get her playing time because she's not getting it here, and that's also very valid. So yeah, I think it's a good. I think it's first and foremost great for Maddie. And I'll be excited to see how she comes back next season with you know with that experience on loan.
yeah, no, I'll get us out of here. It was kind of funny. I was remembering last season's end of season presser, and I lumped Maddie into the young group of McCammon, Bug. I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
oh, and Leslie was like, oh, Maddie will be happy you lumped her in with the teenagers. I was like, ah, fuck.
yeah. She's
But
not
she gave
quite
me
a
a great
teenager,
quote.
but she was one of the college signings.
Younger. I mean, she was in the 24 draft class, 27th overall pick, 24
Yeah,
years old now. Yeah, she'd played as a midfielder, as a forward, and you look at this team now with, both currently with their options in those departments, they're pretty healthy. So,
yeah.
not touch wood. Sorry. So, yeah, that's cool to see. I will have to pay attention to the USL. I'm not calling it that sponsored ass league. So yeah, the next train match is we would have been out at open training, but that was today, and we wanted to get a show done. So not there for that. Um, on the road, they're in this sort of road home thing in the second half of the year until October. Uh, next match, August 24th, Sunday, against the Houston Dash, 4 p.m. Pacific time on NWSL Plus and Paramount Plus. Houston's interesting. They've got points in their last three matches. They've got wins over North Carolina and Gotham.
And they beat
Uh,
us.
how dare you bring up that? In their last two matches, and yeah, in the one time the teams faced off earlier this year on the Mother's Day match, by the way. So they beat the Rain in front of their moms. Not cool. Back on May 11th, it was a 1-0 victory for Houston. So yeah, till we see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Touch wood. do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch all the away games for Seattle Reign FC this year?
Away games. Well, since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See y'all here.